First of all, thank you. I realize it's bright and early in the morning for everybody to join us for a restaurant roundtable. And I know everyone, but just in case, I'm Nikki with the Petoskey Chamber, and we have our entire chamber staff on here as well, Lisa, Emily, and Peter. And our intention today is
to record this, Nikki.
I am, thanks.
Okay, you push the button?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome.
The intention is to give you an opportunity to kind of share some best practices, what you've figured out so far, and if you haven't opened, you can learn from others. And if you have questions, what we can do to help clarify that. We realize that reopening came fast and not a lot of time to prepare, and it's definitely a challenge every day, and it's different every day. So keeping everybody on the same page, we think, is going to be really a big priority going forward as we move into different stages and or fall back a little bit, because we know that's a possibility too. So one of the first things we want to do is give everybody an opportunity to say who you are and who you're with, and then we'll kind of get into this and just really want this to be an open conversation and sharing best practices and answering questions for each other and kind of trying to make sure everybody's on the same page as much as possible. Seeing what your hurdles are, what your hopes are, and maybe, hopefully, we can help with those. So I am going to start out just based on what I can see. So Jody, if you're not muted, would you say where you are and who you're with?
My name's Jody Eubank. I'm sitting in my office at the Pier Restaurant in Harbor Springs. We are open since the 22nd. We did some takeout early on, and we would have 1-2 a night, so we cut that out and in May, and so we had 4 days and we got ready.
Good job.
And it was I called people and said, "You're on 3 doubles," and they said, "Okay."
Excellent. Sara Mcdonald.
Hi, I'm Sara Mcdonald. I'm the owner of the Parkside Deli in downtown, right next to the chamber. During COVID, I was personal chefing, private chefing out of the deli for value meals, and we reopened the deli also last Friday on the 22nd, and all my kids from my high schooler kids came back to work, and we're not letting anybody physically in the building. Curbside, Parkside is the new curbside. We're encouraging online ordering, but we're also taking orders at our back door and putting all of our food out on the tables outside. The space inside, for those of you who've never been in here, is very, very small. Social distancing would let maybe 3 customers in at a time. So I'm leaving the deli space just for my employees at this time.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Sara. Next, I see Charis and Suzanne. So Suzanne, you want to go first?
Sure. I'm kind of wearing 2 hats today as my Petoskey Area Visitors Bureau role and how restaurants relate to hotels and that sort of thing. And also I'm a co-owner with Charis of Snickerdoodles Frozen Yogurt, which is a new property that's going to be opening up. We were supposed to open a couple weeks ago, but with COVID-19, everything got behind and our construction was delayed. And so we're now a few weeks from opening. Construction is back underway, and so we're moving forward again, but we had some delays.
Charis, you want to dovetail off that at all?
Yeah, so Charis, yes, Snickerdoodles Frozen Yogurt.
Whoop, we're losing your
We're losing you, dear.
Oh.
There we go.
There, now we can hear you.
Is that better?
Yep.
Okay. So we're back on track. We've met with contractors and subcontractors, and we're moving forward. So yeah, we're just on like a straight trajectory to open as soon as possible. So that's exciting. We're testing equipment and getting things ready and doing everything we can to be open as fast as possible. So we're excited.
Excellent.
Congratulations.
Yeah, definitely.
Where will you be located?
We're located in Bear Creek Crossings, which is across the parking lot for Buffalo Wild Wings. We're next to Anytime Fitness in the old Quiznos building.
Awesome.
Everybody's excited for frozen yogurt, guys. Thanks. Roger.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Roger Tolman, and I'm the creative director at an agency here in Petoskey called Creative Eye. And our clients are casinos and resort properties, golf courses that have facilities like restaurants. And that's why I joined you today, because there's a new restaurant that one of my clients is opening, and I wanted to get some ideas, extra ideas, outside the box on how to let people know that this is going on. And I appreciate you doing this today.
Thank you. Glad to have you here. Next, Derek.
Hi, everyone. I'm Derek. I am from My North Media. We represent a couple restaurants in the Petoskey area and in Traverse. So I'm here to get, kind of like Roger, get a little feel of how everybody's doing.
Thank you. David.
Hi, it's David Meikle. I own Tap 34 Kitchen and Bar in the back lot. We've been open since the 22nd on all three. And as expected, you know, the back lot being a majority outside, things are great there. But as you restrict capacity, tap and pour are getting substantially worse. So very concerned about the summer.
Well, let's talk in a minute about that for sure, because I know there's some things moving forward with the downtown. So that'll definitely be a point of discussion for us. I saw Aaron jump in. Aaron? And you are muted, Aaron.
Hi, good morning. This is Erin. Yes, I actually just, we have a startup there in Petoskey, which was starting up, and now we have taken a pause. The name of the business is EK Resources, and we are a restaurant and hotel supply company that focuses on compostable tableware. So we are about ready to start supporting some of the festivals there in the summer, and everything's at a total standstill. So, but I wanted to jump on and kind of get a feel of what's going on in the restaurant industry and kind of see how we could support some local businesses as we start getting rolling as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you so much.
Sharon?
Hi, I'm Sharon Schaubacher, and I'm a volunteer with SCORE who does free and confidential mentoring. And we do some restaurants, and I thought I would see what people were saying so I could maybe share some of the insights into solving some of your problems. So thanks for letting me be here.
Thanks, Sharon. Alex, would you like to say hi?
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm one of Jody's interns at the Pier, and I've been working there since May 28th, so I'm going on week 2, and I'm enjoying it a lot, and it's been very informational and learning for the restaurant industry, especially with COVID.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex. Don, would you like to say hello?
Hi, everybody. Don D'Amaro of the Side Door Saloon. We've been open throughout this whole ordeal, except for 1 week when we were exposed. So we were self-quarantined. So, and just concerned about going forward.
All right. Thanks, Don. Joe.
Hi, Joe Keaty, Wine Guys Restaurant Group. We had 2 of our properties were open throughout the whole thing for curbside, roast and toast, and City Park Grill. And then Palette Bistro just opened up on May 22nd. And all 3 of them have opened up with limited capacity.
Excellent. Thanks, Joe. And George, would you like to say hello to those on the call who you are?
Good morning. Well, George from Legs Inn in Cross Village. We're not open yet. We thought we need a little extra time to make sure everything is right. We're opening 2 weeks from today, June 17th. We're not quite sure what to expect, but one thing that we have for us working is a great area in the outdoor, in the gardens, and so we probably in the good weather, we may not even sit inside at all, just everybody will go outside. Well, let's hope we have a good season. Nothing near what we had last year.
Thanks, George. Okay, so what we want to do is kind of give you an opportunity, especially for those that have opened or under the new restrictions, especially May 22nd, those days leading up to, we know were extremely difficult for our restaurant owners. You had little time to get prepared based on some of the restrictions that were in place. Many of the OSHA guidelines came out several weeks earlier to adapt to COVID. But the actual Executive Order 97, which is the one that really gave you the meat of what you were looking to do, well, let's just say it's a lot. So, and we know you had to put COVID preparedness plans in place. You know, you had to train employees. Obviously, the topic that I really want to hear back on is that 50% capacity. And if anybody's done something unique to make that work, are you doing timed seatings? Those that can utilize any outdoor space, we know how important that is. Sara obviously, indicated that there's no way with her square footage that she could have anybody in, more than a couple people at a time with what you already have for your employee space. So I guess if we want to do this first to see if anybody has some indications of, we know 50% is not enough for you. We absolutely positively know that. And your chamber, being part of the Northern Michigan Chamber Alliance, is doing all we can to keep pushing to increase that as case numbers continue to flatten. And hopefully there isn't a second spike so that we can give you more of that. We understand the difficulty in that. But if we want to talk capacity first, if anybody has come up with something that they feel is working best for them as far as rearranging your seating arrangements, and or what are you doing as far as, for those that have a bar, are you letting people sit at the bar? Are you restricting them to reservation only? So feel free to unmute yourself and let's just have a conversation right now.
We just opened our bar 2 days ago with 4 chairs. If you're familiar with the Pier Bar, our opportunity, if you will, versus the word problem, is that all the chairs are the same in the lounge, which means anybody can roll themselves up to the bar. So the bartenders have a little bit of a challenge watching people so that we stay at 4. We've had no problems in the last 2 nights. As far as capacity goes, early on, my husband's a board member on the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association, so I got some of this information. We got some of this information before it was really made public. So I am probably at about 65 to 70% capacity. I made all my tables 9 feet apart, because if you count chairs that are pulled out, you want everybody 6 feet apart, it really ends up being 9 feet apart. If you really take a table and put it 6 feet next to the next table, it doesn't work for social distancing. So I fortunately have a lot of acreage. We've also opened the chart room, which we've yet to have to use, but it's all set and ready to go. At the moment, my last 3 days were equal to last year. So for me personally, I'm going to chalk that up to no reservations.
Good.
We've lost, over the last few years, we've lost probably 25% of our reservations were no-shows. And the good thing about, they say no more than 10, we have made that the restriction of no more than 6. And except for the captain's table, the big round table down below. If you're one family, we'll seat you up to 10 down there. That way people can't stare and say, well, there's 10 people there, because they really can't see you underneath there. I mean, you know, my May figures just came out. I was down $100,000, which will hurt. I was telling Nikki a little bit before we started. Excuse me for 1 second. Hi.
No stopping.
I was telling Nikki a little bit before that in April, when my financials came out, I actually lost less money than last year. I had 0 sales, but we also had no labor, and utilities were down. Insurance was way down because we're not running the pointer boat this year, because that would have allowed me 6 people on the pointer boat. And if I had run it just like last year, we would have lost $15,000. So I'm probably bumming out a lot of people, but it's the right financial move to make. So at the moment, I'm not too happy or too upset. I mean, the May looks ugly. June, not so bad right now. I have all the faith in the world that they're going to come up. Even though we have no events, we have no fireworks, I still think that we are the resort town, and we're really starting to see the Weekly people and the Harbor Point people and La Croche. So I'm hopeful. We've put a lot of things in place. We all gave up a lot of benefits as far as managers go. I can tell you that our partners cut their own salaries. They put a lot of things in place so that, you know, we're at least close to 0 by the end of our fiscal year of September 30th. So.
Thanks, Jody. On the subject of capacity and seating, is there anybody else that has anything they want to add to that? I think everybody is very different because, as you said, Jody, you have a lot of real estate to work with and not everyone does. So is there anything that anyone has found that they're going to adjust going forward as far as capacity and maybe rearranging, or are you sticking with what you have? And obviously it's what you have to stick with. So just curious if there's any other comments or questions on capacity.
I have a question.
Yes.
And this is for Jody and Joe, anyone who has, and Sarah. What are the restrictions on seating outside that you have to deal with? For example, like the pier, you have a lot of real estate. Joe, you have some outside. Sarah, you have a sidewalk. I don't know if that's even doable with the city ordinances. But I heard a great story about, you know, Kansas City closing down part of downtown, allowing people to eat outside in public spaces. Traverse City was supposed to have a vote Monday night. I didn't hear the results of that about closing Front Street. So I'd like to know more about what your restrictions are, because if those are available, it seemed like that would be a good idea.
So Sarah, did you were in the downtown? Were you in the? Are you aware of where it's at for us now in downtown Petoskey? I'm curious.
No, I just am hoping that the city will provide more picnic tables for the park, because I'm fortunate to be literally on the park, and most of my customers just take their lunch to the park. Currently, there's 3 picnic tables in all of Pennsylvania Park, so I'm hoping that they will provide more.
So City Council on Monday did approve a resolution for the Downtown Management Board to move forward with a event style summer, focusing on the Old World Midway style. And some of the things that the Downtown Management Board will be having to discuss as options, and this will be something that will be most likely an emergency meeting with decisions and protocols put in place by the 1st of July, from what I understood from City Council. And some of those things, as Sarah indicated, is that picnic tables in the park, maybe some tenting done as well. So the park is a designated Pennsylvania Park in downtown Petoskey. Because it is a recreational park, you can have alcohol there. So not only could someone take out an order from Tap 30, they could fill a growler as well and go to the park and have a table. So by adding tables, they would be adding a lot. Other opportunities that they're looking at as the downtown is possibility of maybe not full street closure, but alternate 1 or 2 nights a week, specific timing, leaving that route open as much as possible, simply because of the fact for retailers, it's the flip side. With deliveries and everything else, and the way that Petoskey's downtown is laid out, it becomes very, very difficult to just shut the streets down all summer long. Other options that they're looking at is platform dining outside of the restaurants in parking spaces. This is actually a popular thing that's been done in some other communities, and would allow for places, for instance, like City Park, to have more than just those couple tables that they have outside. Granted, these are not massive solutions. It's going to garner a tremendous amount of extra capacity for that additional outdoor dining, but it's something that they're looking toward. And, you know, having the park, as Sarah mentioned, would be a really good opportunity for the downtown restaurants for sure. And I know that they'll be pushing that heartily, and we will share when that emergency meeting is pulled together, so that downtown restaurants have the opportunity to have a voice for themselves and give feedback and input on what would work best for them moving forward.
Our DDA, Roger, and I'll come back to your question of outside. Our DDA has looked for some people to donate picnic tables, and we've had 4 donated so far, besides the 4 that are already out there from the city. So I do think they take 2 to 3 weeks to come in. So Margot's been on that. Somebody put a bug in Victor, our city manager's ear, and I don't think we'll ever get anybody on council to say that we can have alcohol off premise. That would be lovely. You know, many people ask me for Hummers to go. Oh, there's Roger. Everybody keeps moving. Roger, we had to take 7 tables out of the deck. We had 28 outdoor seats, so we still have 20 outside. The bar itself outside, we don't have any tall chairs at yet, because then people are going to start crowding around the bar, and we're going to have to. And so we're trying not to say no by putting these restrictions in place before we don't call them restrictions. We just say this is open or this is not open. And the outside bar was so popular that I would be deathly afraid that I'd turn around the corner and 20 people would be standing around the bar. And the bartenders really did not want to have to police or be security, because being nice and hospitable is how they make their money. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Are there restrictions? Like Nikki said that you can have alcohol in the Pennsylvania Park or downtown designated areas, but Harbor Springs you can't. Is that correct?
Correct. We own the land that I sit on. If you walk into the pier, we own the land underneath the Stafford's Pier sign.
Right.
And when we put on the deck in 1995, we had to buy 35 parking spots in order to do the deck. So as everybody, if you picked up the pier and shook it, that's what we own. So we actually had to borrow literally half an inch to be able to put in the flower beds after we put in the side deck because we were that far off, and the city said, sure, you can have a half inch of our property. So we're pretty strict. They're pretty strict around here, except for on drunken shopping.
Right.
Well, and Roger, to make sure it's clarified, it's because it's a public park. So like you could take a cooler right now into Pennsylvania Park and have a cooler and a picnic table and consume alcohol because it is a public park. That's how a festival place is. There's several, public parks that is allowed. One of the biggest things that's I'm sure that many of the restaurant owners are aware of is the social district bill right now that is moving forward, and hopefully it sounds like it's going to go through, and that is focusing more on allowing restaurants to have, as Jody said, a Hummer to go and have cocktails to go. Obviously, correct containers. You can't just walk down the street and drink, and so there's a lot to that, but that's an advantageous bill that could really help restaurants moving forward. I'm really curious, David, if you would be willing to address with the outside seating at Backlot that there are still restrictions that you keep in place, and how that looks for something that is already established as an outdoor seating.
I mean, we're adhering to the 50% rule, so we put picnic tables out, put them 6 feet apart. And we have someone at the door, and our feeling is if you don't have a seat, then you have to go. I'm not doing a counter, letting some people in and out, but we've had a line pretty much over the whole weekend. I also, Nick, you want to go back to the parking, eating in the parking spaces, and I've conveyed this to Becky as well. Time is of the essence on this because, not only do they have to make that decision, but then they're going to have to come out with some specs and what they're going to allow and what they're not going to allow, and then we have to build it. And if it's not in place before July 4th, then they may as well skip it. So
agreed. It would have to be
wait
quickly.
till next week to mull this over is really, to me, not sufficient.
I think the DMV does have the actual plans already. And I'd be happy to reach out and see if we can get those specs and maybe work with some folks to see what cost would be and how quickly those could be.
Like for instance, Birmingham does, basically makes you do a Trex base with a fence around it. But, obviously, Nikki, the second problem is if they're going to make it 50%, 6 feet distancing, those outdoor seating things are going to hold maybe 2 tables.
Right.
Which is not,
not the answer all, unless you can
right.
get parking
50% is the big problem, unfortunately. And if that carries through July, we all have big problems.
I'd like to be anticipatory and say that phase 5, which is being teased to our regions 6 and 8, is going to include some relaxation of that, maybe moving that up a little bit. We don't quite know what phase 5 is. Nobody does, as far as metrics and numbers of allowables for restaurant retail and for those businesses that are still remained closed, our salons, our gyms. I know that the Alliance, the Northern Michigan Chamber Alliance, signed a letter of request for expansion on capacities for restaurant retail in our region, as well as opening of the remaining closed businesses. And it will be on the governor's desk probably later today or first thing in the morning.
So Nikki, can I ask you real quick? I'm confused about the public park versus our public park.
It's more of a Parks and Recreation kind of a Michigan thing. That was brought to our attention several years ago with Festival on the Bay in regards to you have your beer tent area, but then you have somebody over at Bayfront Park with a cooler and their family, and they're drinking out of their cooler, and you can't, it's almost kind of like where there's picnic tables, you can have a cooler, and closed containers. And obviously you can't, run around outside of the park area, but it's part of just how park legislation is put together. So it's one of those things though too, that it's very easy for your city or your Parks and Rec to say, yeah, no, we're not going to allow that to be a public thing, but it's not anything that's against the law if somebody comes up with a cooler. The difference is that what's happening is now you're saying, having these picnic tables with signage that says, come eat and drink here, go get your order from across the street, be responsible, be safe kind of thing. So that's really the difference, is that now you're encouraging your restaurants that are within park distance to sell to-go alcohol. And that's part of the social district bill too, is that to-go alcohol can be used in those spaces that are legally designated that can happen. So,
that's always been my complaint when I see people. I know that they have coolers over there. 4th of July, 2nd, 3rd, 4th,
yeah.
5th of July. They're out there they put up 12 by 12 tents.
Yeah, they're not doing anything wrong. So now you just have to get that's where it's policy coming in from your city and what their reflection is on that for sure.
So the state would make the law, and then the individual municipalities would have the right to say yes or no?
Pretty much, yeah. I think it's on the mindset of your city council and how they designate that park and what use they
really.
Well, let's move on to a happier topic. I want to talk
fathers.
I want to talk a little bit quickly in regards to how you're dealing with your customers and masks. And, one, are you following the guidelines, and are you having your employees wear masks as it is required based on how your setup is? Are you making sure that is going on? So obviously you are under so much health department regulation and so much regulation as far as those who are in the kitchen area handling food, guidelines from the FDA, what you're handling with that, what your hosts are doing. The question comes down to, because I'm sure you're all behaving quite well on that, and nobody wants somebody who's over in a kitchen cooking wearing a mask for 8 hours, and it's tough, and we get that. The question is how is everyone handling what your customers are doing? We heard a lot of stories early on that those who are from out of area don't want to wear masks. Now with restaurants, it's a little bit different because it's upon entering to your table and then take off your mask and eat. And then when you leave, or if you go to a restroom, put your mask back on. So that's just something that I wanted to kind of see how that was working for everyone. If anyone has any issue with it, obviously I know, David, that the back lot's quite different because you are outside. And are you turning away someone who comes to your restaurant without a mask and says, no, I'm not wearing one even to my table? Are you going to turn them away? How are you going to handle that this summer? I think that's more of, if all businesses in the area are unified on that, I think that bodes better for everyone. So nobody's the only bad guy, I guess. If you haven't gotten the signage, the Petoskey Safe Practice signage that we've been distributing, let us know. We have very large posters. We have a bunch of 11 by 17s coming as well that you can post outside your business that look the same to everybody else, that says mask is required upon entry, sanitize, stay 6 feet. That's covering you, and that's what we want to do. We want to give you that availability of a little bit of cushion from any liability standpoint, because it also states on those signs that by entering this premise, you agree that you are not now sick, nor have you had it, or have you been sick. So it's kind of giving you a little bit of protection based on the executive order. So just really curious where everybody stands on masks.
At the pier, when customers don't have a mask, we have actually disposable masks at the host stand, and we ask them before they're seated to put it on. We've only had maybe 1 or 2 instances of people saying, no, we're not wearing a mask, and they'll walk out. But we've only had about 1 or 2 people from downstate. Actually, something that we're running into more is restaurant owners from downstate saying, oh, well, I own a restaurant and this is ridiculous. And that's a little bit we're running into, especially how they're not complying with, like, they're complaining about our guidelines, about all sorts of, they're saying that they're restaurant owners and they know more than what we do. But other than that, customers have been complying really well with it. Sometimes they do forget to put a mask on to go to the bathroom. We remind them, but sometimes, especially with the older folks, they forget. But other than that, they've been pretty good about it.
Joe, how are you guys seeing it at the 3 properties?
Overall, it's been, people have been pretty compliant, pretty happy about doing it. And try and be as upfront if they're calling in early to make a reservation or anything like that, just to, that's what we're expecting when you come in. We have had a couple people that, same thing, we do have masks available if they forgot theirs or what have you. There have been a few that don't want to wear a mask, and we're just asking them to not come in. Then we'll do takeout, we'll bring food to them, but we don't want them to come in. That's how we're handling that part.
Yeah, always offer takeout. I think that's
a good point.
For anyone that if they don't want to comply with that, there's picnic tables out there. We're happy to, and I'll sell them a bottle of wine because I don't know what they've done with that bottle of wine. So I can't be responsible for the bottle of wine. So we're selling wine and beer and to-goes. Not as much. I will tell you that I thought that people that came into our restaurants were going to be just on edge and ready to explode. And it's been the opposite, wouldn't you say, Alex? We have had some of the nicest people. The waiters have commented, the hosts have commented. How prepared we are and everything we have in place to keep the guests safe.
Good.
Certainly takeout is easier to say than get out. And I was in Traverse City this weekend taking my wife to the airport, and we went around and walked the streets and looked at the restaurants, and everybody was very respectful. We ate at a couple of restaurants and didn't have any issues at all. It seemed like everybody was very compliant. I think once people realize that this is sort of the new normal that we're at right now, they have to accept that. It's like speeding or, new stop signs are put in place. You just can't keep going through the roads the way you used to before they put up a stop sign. I'm hopeful that most of the people that we deal with and clients, like the casino properties that we represent and some of the large golf courses, private or public, have the same things going on. They have to issue a sort of a comfort level, but also have a respect level that's in place for the safety of their employees mostly.
Yeah, I think, Roger, you just touched on something really big. It is the safety of your employees. And, that's what it all comes down to, is taking care of them as best you can and making your customers feel as safe as possible. In case no one caught it, in the last executive order 101, there is verbiage in there that does offer a little bit more protection when it comes to the mask issue, as far as the requirements that you may or may not have. So it basically essentially reads that businesses and building owners and those authorized to act on their behalf are permitted to deny entry or access to any individual who refuses to comply with this subsection, and that subject cannot claim that they have been violated against the covenant of quiet enjoyment, claim of frustration of purpose, or similar claims. So in other words, what that means is you're protected more than you were without that verbiage in the executive order. So we want to make sure that that's out there, because we have had a couple members reach out to us and say, well, what happens if I say no? Can somebody cause more than a scene? Can somebody, defame me somewhere? Can they say that I took away one of their rights? And, so there's concern with that, because no matter how kind everybody's being, not everyone is going there, unfortunately. And we know that as summer grows, we could see a little bit of issue with that going forward. One of the things we also wanted to point out, nobody is doing temperature checks for customers, correct? Because it is not required of you to do so. Okay. the health department and the hospital came out and said that, because there was some confusion early on that might be part of your requirements to make sure your customers were safe to come in. So just wanted to reiterate that's not something that you need to worry about. What about restrooms?
The casinos are doing temperature checks.
Yes, restaurants and retail do not have to, and truthfully, casinos do not have to either. It's very nebulous. They can and can't. It depends on where how their setup is inside. But restaurants, you're not required to temperature check your customers when they come in. You know, at some point in time, there is self-responsibility as well to an individual.
Roger, can I ask you quickly? My 90-year-old father went golfing yesterday on a golf league, and he was surprised to find that he could share a cart with someone.
Yeah, that's an issue. And each club, I don't know if there's specific rules other than the social distancing recommendations. Certainly at a private club, it would be different than a public facility. But we're members at Petoskey Bayview, and we're finding that walking solves that problem. And now they've gone to the expense of buying some self-actuating carts that you put a finder on yourself and it follows you around like a robot, which is kind of cool. You know, it's definitely jumping into another aspect of our technology. And that may be a solution, but I know what you're talking about. I don't think that there's been that much time yet for golf clubs to really look at the fact that a cart doesn't really comply with the social distancing rules.
Thank you.
So let's also hit a couple things too, as far as I'm curious, have you adjusted your menus? Have you looked at, I think everybody that's on this call is keeping carryout and takeout and online ordering. I think that going forward, that's a must. That we're hearing from a lot of folks is that gives you that availability to still keep everybody happy, kind of, and make sure that you, as Jody said, if somebody doesn't want to come in, they feel comfortable and safe. So I'm assuming that's part of it, and that things that everybody's doing. But I would love to hear, and I'm going to unmute Don and George, because since they're on the phone, they may not be able to, although I may have to remute if you guys are noisy. Don and George, is there anything you want to contribute? Any questions, concerns that you have? You guys have done a fantastic job throughout, really making your customers feel safe. And you know, anything that you've learned that you want to pass on to that, and then of course we'll turn it to George and see if he has any questions, since you guys are all landslides ahead of George in this one. So
hi, this is George. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, George.
Well, a couple of questions going back to your topics. Are we all in uniform on the posters? And because you know, as you mentioned, no one wants to be a bad guy. So I'm definitely in favor of posters from the doors telling people that, you know, you must have a mask or whatever. So are we actually going to go with it or not?
So Petoskey has them. I don't know if Harbor did them. Obviously, Cross Village probably isn't, but I would be more than happy to make you a very special one, George, and send it to you.
All right, I think that would be nice, because this way everybody will feel the same.
Yeah, it would look the same as everybody else's. So yeah, we're trying to Petoskey-wide have the exact same poster in every single one, because you are required to put up all of this outside your building anyway. And if everybody's got 10 of their own posters, it's less window space, and it helps everybody kind of be uniform. So I'll be happy to make a very special one for you, okay?
Okay, thank you. Next question is on staff. So what are you doing with the staff as far as the distancing and mask? Obviously, you know, having a line cook there with a mask for a few hours and with 100 degrees, they may not be too happy. So what is everybody else doing for cooks?
Anybody want to feedback on that one?
When it's not busy and there's no tickets at all, I allow them to pull down their mask for a little bit and cool off.
Did anybody consider possibly those those clear plastic shields, would that work or not?
We looked into those, and those are even hotter than the
They're even worse, huh?
Yeah, the least hot of all masks are the ones that they supply you from disposable face masks.
The little paper
Okay.
ones.
I don't know if you can see, George.
No, I don't see it.
And I can find out from Butch where to get these for you. You probably can get them from Gordon's or Cisco.
Okay. All right, we'll look into that.
Yeah, Jody, get them for me too. And we're happy to help you with any PPE supplies you need. I think everybody's got their resources. We're lucky up here, I will say that. It's been a lot easier for restaurants and retailers to find PPE here than it is downstate for sure. So that's a good thing. George, was there anything else you had?
Yes, on restrooms, is there any criteria, anything done one person at a time or so many people, or how often you have to clean the restrooms after every use, every hour on the hour, or what are we doing?
Anybody want feedback on that one?
I have a busser every evening or a host that's in charge of wiping down the handrails and going into the restrooms and wiping down. We do have a sign outside the restroom. Alex, does that sign say, please, please distance yourself? I think, yeah. Right
Yeah,
before,
and we have we also, besides just hand soap, we also have regular hand sanitizer in our bathrooms, and our hosts are wiping at least the female bathrooms, because we only have female hosts wipe down the restrooms every 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
So we did have to put in the foam soap dispensers. We already had the touch paper, and then we bought four Purell stations for throughout the entire restaurant.
Okay.
We haven't limited the bathrooms that are multi-person to just one. We have some of those, but same thing. They're just on our every half hour disinfect list that we go through. So.
And that is part of the protocol that you all worked so hard to put together was, okay, it's been 30 minutes, it's been an hour, we got to clean, we got to go through. I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges. How is everyone, is there a hot button? I mean, we're coming up on an hour here. Is there anything that you really feel that you want to share, or is there a question that you really have, or what did you really, what do you need other than to be all fully open again? What other issues are you facing or challenges that you're looking to resolve? Or if you've got something that's working really well and you know it's working well because you've been testing and had some time to adjust it.
I have a comment.
Yeah, this is Don.
Go ahead,
This
Don.
is Don at the side door. We installed the touch points where every 20 to 30 minutes, the hostess or whoever's available can go around and sanitize all those touch points. As far as the restrooms, we installed stronger fans, all touchless fixtures, including the urinals, the toilets, the fixtures. We have sanitizers outside the restrooms, so we encourage guests to use the sanitizer before they enter the restroom. We installed touchless door openers in the restroom doors, so they use their foot to open up the door. As far as menus, Nikki, you asked about that. We're still using the disposable menus. We also installed QR codes that's available at the front door. We put them on all our takeout menus, and we have posted throughout the restaurant. So what you do with that QR code, you just point your smartphone camera at it, and it goes directly to our menu. And then guests can bring up our menu on their phone through a link. And that link is connected to, it can be connected to any URL with your menu on it, including your Facebook page or your home website page. And that's getting to be more and more popular with guests coming in. As far as the bar, you mentioned, we have 4 seats at the bar now. And then we have one flexible table where if nobody's sitting at that table, we turn the chairs around and people can sit at the bar. Now, if there's people sitting at the bar, people can't sit at that one table. So, I mean, we can have a minimum of 4 seats at the bar and or a maximum of 7 and still social distance. But I mean, those 4 seats are all dependent on if it's a party of 4 or, you know, if one person sits there, nobody else can sit there. Of course, as far as capacity, we're probably at about 45% capacity. I mean, we're limited on our seating. We do the 6 feet apart, inside and outside. We installed plexiglass at the bar, around the bar. UV lighting, we had installed in our ductwork. The UV lighting curbs bacteria and virus growth. We've got signs, you know, on the floor as far as directional. We encourage one way in the restaurant and one way out the restaurant. Does everybody follow it? Just kind of like the masks, you know. We probably lost the first weekend, probably about 50 to 60 people saying they're not wearing masks, even though we had them available at the door for sale. They said, we'll go someplace else. And that hurt.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's been the most frustrating thing, but we're doing the right thing. You know, it's like I'm telling the staff, our job is to protect, you know, our staff and our guests. You know, our guests up in this area are elderly and they need to be protected. So, I mean, we're in this for the long run and not the short run, and that's what we got to focus on. So,
thanks, Don.
Pretty concerned about.
Don, do you think you'd have better luck if you just gave them the mask instead of sell it?
You know, probably.
Just a thought. I know ours are about $1 a piece.
Yeah, that's about what we paid for them too. So, and that's we're asking that they pay, you know, what we paid for them. So, I mean, we're not asking anything absorbent. I mean, everybody knows our costs are going way up. You know, right. Like I said, we're in this for the long run. I want to be around in a year or 2 or 10 years. I'm not going to give the place away, right now and risk losing everything. I mean, with our employees, and we employ quite a few people, as everybody does on the phone. So
I'd like to propose a suggestion that the chamber could help out. I mean, some of the people that are really hurting the most are services like restaurants, also retailers, and you have a vehicle with your newsletter to really get out to membership and let people, like other memberships like Rotary and Kiwanis and all the other people that gather together as large groups, that maybe the focus could be during this tough time really to kind of direct people to stay local and, support restaurants and retailers, and whether they have to call them up and pick it up outside or whether they go and actually enjoy the place. It would be nice to, you have the vehicle, you reach a lot of people, and that's
what we have.
Yeah.
If you haven't checked it out,
I know you do, but
we're pushing it.
A particular focus. Yeah, like really do a big push, especially since we're going into the summer period, and a lot of people come up here that don't understand what our criteria are. The signage is nice, but I think if the public had a buzz going on about, hey, this is what's really happening, and you guys have the control of that. You're doing a great job, but I would like to see more of that. So that's just a suggestion for the next few weeks before we really get slammed with a lot of people that don't understand the rules.
If anybody hasn't had a chance yet, speaking of which, so like we have a dedicated page for restaurants, for your curbside, for your retail on our website that we push consistently through our newsletter, which is coming out now sometimes 3 times a week versus the old 2 times a week. We've reformatted everything we do to push businesses 1,000%. And we always pushed you hard before. So if you haven't and your restaurant or your information is not up to date, we encourage you to make sure you let us know. We've done a lot of reaches to make sure we get that information correct, because obviously our website sees traffic from visitors to the area as well as locals. So if you have, like Roger said, more suggestions of what you'd like us to do, if there's more webinars, more seminars, more reach outs, we do Facebook Live videos that are getting tremendous reach across the community and statewide. We've done webinars downstate as well. Anything that we can do, as Roger indicated, more, let us know for sure. An idea that we would be happy to help with is the mask issue is going to be something that's going to last summer long. If you would like us to put something together to maybe possibly take the good old service effect, hospitality, the Little Traverse Way mindset into how your employees can handle and work with asking customers to wear masks so that your employees feel safe and comfortable, because we know it's not always you that's going to be at the door. We know it's not always you that's going to take, you know, as Don said, the maybe negative comments. So we're happy to, if that's something of interest, to put something like that together.
There's one other thing I want to throw in there. Right at the very beginning of this, we created the Petoskey Daily Dining Specials Facebook page and have been encouraging all of the restaurants to post their daily specials there. I think it's grown to about, 1,000 followers, but every little bit of additional exposure helps us. So that's another resource to keep in mind that you can take advantage of. And yeah, if you go to the website, there's a whole Petoskey Strong section, and there's a ton of resources there. And under there specifically is restaurants and takeout section. So please take a look at what we have there. It's a huge undertaking with all the restaurants in the area, trying to keep that information up to date and pulling together that information. So if your information needs to be updated, please reach out to us. We're happy to do that.
I have a question about what people are doing to, like, are you giving people a paper bag or something to put their mask in at the table once they sit down and they need a place to put their mask? And if so, maybe that's an opportunity for some sort of specialized printing or something that we could do with the chamber to make some kind of fun promotional thing, with the bag that we all get then for people to put their mask in.
It's a great idea.
I like that, Suzanne. We can see where that goes for sure. Another thing too, a tool for you to utilize if you haven't done so already is our business spotlight. So we started that, I think 3 weeks ago now, 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't know about anybody else, but man, does the days blend together. We started that a couple of weeks ago, and essentially what it is, it gives you the opportunity to take a 90-second, 2-minute video of yourself or film somebody in your restaurant or establishment, says, hey, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. We're safe for you. I encourage you to go off that line because your hours may change, your offerings may change, your capacity may change as you're going forward. So for restaurants specifically, I would encourage you to just really focus on we can't wait to see you. Here's what we're doing. Come join us, that kind of thing. A popular menu item that absolutely you're not going to change. And then all you need to do is just send it to me personally, and we'll create it, and we head it and tail it so that it's got some consistency throughout. And we've been posting those on Facebook. We have a full page on them on our website for member updates, part of that Petoskey Strong as well. So we're giving those some traction too through our YouTube channel, because we just figure there's any opportunity we can give to you to help you in this unconventional time to get the message out is good. So have some fun with it. There's a couple examples on our website right now, and we're happy to add you to that list.
I have to go, but I wanted to make one last comment regarding what Suzanne said, which is a great idea. I'm old school. I like point of contact information. And I think it's a great idea if you have some place for people to put a mask, have a message on it. But one of the other things that online is a great way to get to people, especially today. However, there's a lot of people that don't go online, traveling. They don't have the option. They're not getting as much input on their phones. And it might be a good idea to reach out to some of the places people go to physically to put signage, like when you get gas. If you're standing there next to pumping your gas, it might be nice to have a signage. The signs that people use for political campaigns, for yard signs that are out now, thanking all the workers that have put so much of their time and effort into making things better for us. Maybe the city could loosen up some of their restrictions about yard signs where you could put information like, please log on to this place and find out about restaurants or find out about retail. Because contact is great if you know online services, but if you're not an online person, like a lot of people that come here don't have the chance in their cars to be online. They're driving. There might be some opportunities there with yard signs, gas stations, other places that on the outsides of stores, learn about who's open and I like the idea that you're doing online. You're tremendous at online stuff, but there's still old school people like me that look for point of contact, things that Suzanne was talking about. You need more information out there for people that aren't always enhanced by the online experience. Just another way to get to people to teach them the new rules.
You could definitely go to city council if you want to, Roger.
I'd love to. I think they might listen. They have a lot of other things on their plate, but you guys have a lot more say and have more access than the outside person.
So if anybody wants to help to just, as we move forward, because we are distributing all those posters all around, we'll be more than happy to put them in everybody's
Parks and Rec would be a great place to do it too, because they have access to.
They have a couple hundred they're distributing. So yeah, so they're getting out there. I think the bag idea is great. And I think I would hope that maybe we do get some, loosening of restrictions with some signage as welcoming people into town. And, maybe we'll get somebody who's a big funder that wants to take over a billboard welcoming people into town and being Petoskey safe. That'd be fantastic too. And I agree, Roger, the more we get the message out, the better. And it's just Petoskey strong, Petoskey safe. And moving forward with that is going to be a big deal for all of us, I think, for this summer. So yeah, great.
Petoskey open.
Yeah, for sure. Does anybody have anything else? We're running over an hour and we're bumping up against some other stuff. So I would love to just make sure that we've covered everybody's, comments, questions, anything they want to add.
When anybody talks about to go, there's a free app called Gloria app, and we just added the link right to our takeout by the takeout menu, and we put it on an iPad. We gave it to the bartenders, and I bet we do 10 to 15 a day. And so we have a form. We basically call them back after they order. They order right on the it's called Gloria app. And we call them back and we ask them what kind of car they have. Would they like to prepay beforehand? Would they like to leave a gratuity? And then we run the food out to them. So we're still not, just because we're open, we're still continuing the curbside, which I think is good hospitality. And that's a free app that can be added right to your website. So you don't have to buy an app. You don't have to try to make an app or have them call you on the phone. There are some people that still want to do it that way. And then the other 50% just call on the phone. And we still do it the same way. Fill out the form. What would you like? Here's our menu.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, your online ordering platform, if you haven't gotten there, you don't have a choice. I think that one thing going forward that we've learned in the last 10 to 12 weeks is that even if there were those members of our society who weren't tech ready, we're getting there quickly, and we don't have a choice because we're going to be virtual in many ways for probably some time. And that face-to-face interaction will merge its way back in, but the availability for you to be completely online accessible for your consumers, to give them that feeling of safety is absolutely paramount right now. So I know restaurants probably were the ones that flipped that switch quicker than anybody else, and kudos to those who did to allow that access. So, all right, anybody have anything else?
I just want to make sure George has everything he needs when he's open.
George is going to get a special phone call.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I hear
me?
you.
Yes, we can.
Well, that's a quick question. Did anybody have any problems getting employees back because they're getting all these unemployment benefits? We don't. So far, they're all coming back. But is that a problem?
No, all you do is tell them if they don't come back, they don't get unemployment anymore.
So that's a rule, right? So they would not get unemployment if they don't come back.
No, because I would tell them I'm putting them on a leave of absence.
I see. Okay.
To that though, here's where you all have to be careful. If you call them back and they tell you that they can't come back because they have been around somebody who was exposed, you cannot report them for that. And also there is some employee protections coming in addition to that. If they do not have childcare, if they are just flat out scared. So that is a very fine line for an employer to play, is I'm going to report you because you don't have childcare, that you can't come back to work and now you're going to lose your unemployment. I would caution hard on that one. That's going to get really interesting. The big thing, and this sounds like this is a weird way to say it, but the big thing is that additional unemployment from the federal pandemic unemployment insurance, as of right now, only goes until the end of July. So that is not extended through the rest of the year as of now. That's the key word. There are two acts or two new extensions for financial relief that are moving through right now. The HEROES Act, as the 100th round of PPP funding and inclusion, and how that works and what that looks like. So keep an eye. Obviously, we post those as soon as those changes come up. We make sure you know. But yeah, George, careful with that one. 9 times out of 10, 7 times out of 10, I would like to say that employees will come back because they understand, that their employer's taking care of them too. So I think that all comes back to how well you took care of them before you had to temporarily lay them off. I really do. So.
Everyone, I would just like to point out in the chat box, we are doing a workshop tomorrow on bringing employees back.
Thanks, Lisa.
Laura Dinan from Plunkett Clooney is leading that. I put the link on there. It's also on our website. That's free. That'll be at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lisa.
Laura's one of
One more thing. Can I say one more thing?
Yes, go ahead, George.
One thing is, obviously, as you all know, that we're not in Petoskey, we're not in Harbor Springs. So, and there are some situations where something is specific to Petoskey itself, the town, the city, or Harbor. But please remember that this is a Petoskey Greater Area Chamber of Commerce, and include those that are outside of us. So I would, if you can, say about the Petoskey area, and not just the Petoskey or Harbor Springs, because we are all here together.
Oh yes. We gotcha. Don't worry. We're going to have a talk, George.
Very
all good to go.
Thank you very much for having us.
You're welcome. Go ahead, Joe.
Just going to say the other thing about bringing people back is there is the expanded work share program where you can have staff come back and work a little bit less that still get
pandemic.
As long as they have they still get the $600 as long as they have reduced unemployment to certain levels.
Yep.
So it's pretty.
And work share is a great way to bring people back. A great way.
Yeah.
It keeps staff too. So
keep staff, bring more of them back, and they all work a little bit less and still get that. It's a really.
That's a great way to handle it. All right, everybody. I'll let everybody go because I know you got busy days. Thank you so much for participating. As Lisa said, we've got the Bringing Employees Back seminar tomorrow. We're going to chat with our retailers soon. We'll, and if you feel you have interest or possibility in wanting us to do something else as far as helping employees with that hospitality angle of the new world, we've got some ideas that we're pulling together. So if you have interest in participating in that, be sure to email us and get us your business spotlights. Make sure you're giving us your member news and all that good stuff so that we can keep promoting you throughout this. A million times over, we are Petoskey Strong and we appreciate all that you're doing. We know this is not easy and you've adapted so well. It's incredible. You're the reason that we're gonna keep having the best possible summer we can. So unless anybody has anything else, thank you guys.